A Louisiana Republican state senator is getting attacked by members of his own party for doing the right thing. Wow. So let me get to the details. Senator Fred Mills on Wednesday broke with this party to kill an anti trans bill that would ban gender affirming care for minors. Based. Wow. So now the bill would have banned hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and gender affirming surgery for trans minors. Now, the bill had passed the House and was up before the Senate Health and Welfare Committee. Mills happens to be the head of that committee. Mills joined all four Democrats in voting to defer the bill. So, deferring the bill, basically, in the process speak, whatever, it kills it. It killed it for the rest of the year. It has been tabled. It's not going to be brought back up. Now, Louisiana is currently the only state along the Gulf Coast that allows for gender-affirming care for minors. So, now, what changed his mind? Facts. I know, right? What? Mills explained that part of his decision was based on testimony that he had heard from medical professionals. So, originally he went into it and saying, look, I don't know what way I'm going to vote. I want to hear from the experts first. And so they brought in experts to testify. And, well, he went along with them. Mills, again, health professionals widely acknowledged during the hearings that gender affirming care decreases levels of anxiety, depression, and suicidal ideation in LGBTQ minors. They also noted that doctors generally don't recommend surgery for people under age 19. And a Louisiana Health Department report found that no Medicaid recipients had received gender reassignment surgery in the state between the years of 2017 and 2021. A child and adolescent psychiatrist testified in the committee about the standard procedures already in place for gender affirming care. Turns out you can't just go and say, give me hormones. No, you have to go through a process. It's a very long process. And that same psychiatrist testified that many of the medications used for trans care are proven safe and used to treat other unrelated issues. And apparently, again, all of these facts broke through, and Mills voted the correct way to protect trans kids. That is amazing.
Amazing.
I'm literally floored. This is a great story. Because the guy listened to reality and facts and was swayed by reality and facts. Turns out rational Republicans, they do exist. Wow. Now, here's what he also said at the time. Quote, always in my heart of hearts have I believed that a decision should be made by a patient and a physician. I believe in the physicians in Louisiana. So that right there, I mean, again, that's what we want here. In these decisions, yes, it should be a patient and their doctor, not having big government step in and say, no, you can't do this because we don't like you. He also said, I believe in the scope of practice. I believe in the standard of care. So now, of course, as a result, the anti-trans far right has come after him because, of course, I'm going to give you some statements here. For one, Greg Price said that Mills has, quote, received massive contributions from Big Pharma, who make all this money giving these drugs to our children. So, wait a minute here. First of all, that's misusing a very real argument. And that argument, of course, is that Big Pharma does donate to a lot of politicians. Yes. So that's pretty much every politician on both sides of the aisle gets tons of money from pharmaceutical companies. Now, Mills is also a pharmacist. So now that means he's close to the industry. And of course, he's going to receive money from the industry. That makes sense. Now, as a leftist, that bothers me because if I had it my way, I would get rid of all private donations from corporations and industries. Just get all the private money out of politics. That said, on the issue here of trans healthcare, the money doesn't look like it had anything to do with it. So, as I said, on issues like vaccines and gender affirming care, like, again, hormones and puberty blockers, is it true that the companies are making so much money off of selling these drugs to kids? No. In fact, most of the money that goes to these pharmaceutical companies, they make it from drugs like biologics, for example. Things that don't have generic versions to them. Things that they can hold on to the patents for 40 to 100 years at a time. So that means no competition. One example is Humira, which treats types of arthritis, as well as ulcerative colitis, Crohn's disease. In fact, some of the most, again, expensive drugs and drugs that make the most money for the pharmaceutical companies are those types of drugs that, again, treat diabetes, high cholesterol, UC, Crohn's, and, again, arthritis. So they're not making the vast majority of their profits from giving hormones and puberty blockers to children. The idea that Big Pharma is basically getting obscenely rich trying to train your children is just absurd. It's just not, it's not correct. It's incorrect. Big Pharma gets a lot of money because our stupid patent laws that kill competition. And of course, you have the fact that the government is not allowed through Medicare to negotiate prescription drug prices. That is the major issue here. And the fact that we do have a privatized pharmaceutical industry, which I don't believe should exist. So on this issue, I don't think that the legal bribes that he gets from this industry has had an impact on his decision. I think him believing in the science does. He said, quote, "My decision was really based on the numbers. All the testimony I heard by the proponents that children are being mutilated, I didn't see it in the statistics." Well, that's because it doesn't exist. It's not real. It is again, a made-up assault meant to go after transgender people to erase them from existence. That is the whole point. So now that's Greg Price, but also Matt Walsh went after him as well. He said that Mills, quote, "sided with the butchers and groomers," and predicted that it would end the senator's career. Well, he's already hit term limits, so he's not going to run for re-election. He's term limited out. Maybe he can run for a different office, but I mean, I guess Matt Walsh, you won on that one. Wow. Now, that said, speaking about Matt Walsh, this is a guy who talked about how 16-year-old girls, how fertile they were, and how that's the best age to go and knock them up. A man who is also obsessed with trans kids' genitals. Constantly thinks about them, talks about them all the time. Now, as far as those attacks, though, Mills doesn't care. He said, quote, "Why should I care? They don't live in District 22. They don't have a 337 area code. I didn't run for office to serve those people." Gotta like that. Gotta appreciate that. Now, I said that there's attacks, but he actually got some support as well. In fact, since then, he said many of his colleagues have thanked him for his decision, including even other Republican senators that are not on the committee. So you have other Republicans as well, in Louisiana of all places, saying, "I'm glad you didn't go and attack trans children by banning this care. That actually helps them." That gives me a little bit of hopium. Let me tell you what, at the end of the day, you got to give him credit for doing the right thing. We don't agree on a lot politically, as far as, economic positions especially. But in this case, huge credit. In too many instances, Republicans, elected officials, tend to do the wrong thing because you have so many in the base that have made the elimination of transgender people their number one goal. But so to see that, we have a small victory here And you have some Republicans that actually do believe in the science and follow the science and actually care about trans children and are actually willing to vote against these horrific bills. Well, I mean, that just gives me, again, a little bit of hopium.